I'm going to bring up one I don't know if you've seen, but it was always a gem for me of this year, and that's Airheads.
Nice. Okay, kiddies, listen up.
I think I watched it because...
That's right, special unscheduled announcement.
I liked Brendan Fraser.
Now, part of our final hurrah, we have a special segment called Getting to Know Your Armed Assailant.
Because I liked Encino Man.
Yes, so much.
You're standing in front of 20,000 screaming fans.
And I like that movie because...
What are you gonna say to them?
I like loud music.
Rock and roll!
All right, this is going to be very odd for me. This is an all new
setup.
Yeah.
But we'll make it work.
All right.
All right, I'm going to wing it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another amazing episode of Back to the Podcast. We're your hosts, Justin Neal, and I'm Chris Lawler, and today we've got another fantastic topic. We're going to be diving into the year of 1994, all the hidden gems, all the things we saw in the theaters, and the things we grew to love over time. There's so many things to talk about. Justin, how excited are you about this topic for today? I know that this has been a great theme that everybody's been enjoying.
Oh yeah, I love going back through the years, as you know, and we're going through the 90s. We're almost in the mid-90s now. 94 isn't my favorite year of the 90s.
Wow. Okay.
But I think it's a big one for you, so I'm going to follow along with your lead, which I'm fine with. I mean, I've got plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I just know that the charge is going to be led by you, and that's okay. But you do find me in unfamiliar surroundings, as you can see.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a temporary setup for while we get the studio properly set up downstairs. So that's going to be fantastic. Eventually, yeah, I'm going to have to debut an all-new background in a couple of weeks. That'll be a more permanent setup. How about that?
That's very exciting. Well, as you can see, I did the upgrade this season, so I guess it's time for you to as well.
Yep.
So that's cool. Well, before we dive in, of course, is there anything on your plate that you want to share?
Yeah, so I watched one that I thought was super interesting, and I want to watch it again before I dive into it, but I watched El Conde on Netflix.
Okay, not familiar.
Okay, it's set in, wait, is this... Well, I feel like, did he go to Chile first and then Argentina? It's South America.
Got it.
It's a revisionist history in black and white, but it's told from the idea that General Pinochet was a vampire.
What? I was not expecting that.
It's a revisionist vampire dark comedy.
Anyone in it that we should know?
No, it's foreign language except for the voiceover, which is in English, and it's a British English. And eventually you learn that the VO is Margaret Thatcher, and she's a vampire too.
Very bizarre.
It's, dude. Yeah.
I don't know how you stumble across these things.
Like revisionist history, but done for dark comedy. And I think that they were pointing out things that I don't specifically know. So I think it was actually even funnier than I thought it was because it was referencing things that I'm not even aware of from that time period. But I think that one was super interesting. But I saw one that I'm sure you're aware of. I don't think you've seen it yet. And that's The Creator with John David Washington.
No, I haven't seen that. No, I just remember all the promotional stuff. Yeah.
It's very beautifully shot.
Okay.
I think there were probably some plot holes in it.
Interesting.
I don't know how well it would hold up to intense scrutiny.
Well, the reviews were in with that one when it came out, and it was definitely mediocre for sure.
I don't think you would like it.
I wouldn't like it. Okay. So where'd you see that? On Netflix right now?
I feel like it was on Hulu.
Okay, but it's out there streaming right now.
It is on streaming. Have you watched anything recently that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I did finally get into Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Now, what I'm going to say about it is it's not slow. It's quiet, and there's a lot going on without a lot of just dialogue. Instead, they just kind of let it breathe and let these characters materialize, and I was really enjoying it. So not too much other stuff, but obviously I'm very excited for today's topic. I printed up a lot of notes.
Let's get into it.
I figured we'd go ahead and kick off.
Yeah.
Normally I throw it back to you, but like we were talking about before the show, this was just Jim Carrey's year.
It certainly was.
1994, and you seemed on the opposition of that, but I was like, well, I'm going to push forward and still talk about it.
You should.
So he started off, obviously, with the Ace Ventura movie.
Ventura.
Pet Detective.
Yes, Satan.
He had done a few other films, but this was obviously the film that launched his career was Ace Ventura.
It absolutely was.
I love it.
It was huge.
I still watch it to this day.
Everyone loves that movie.
I guess you're on the opposite end of that spectrum.
And that's okay. Like, humor is very subjective.
Okay.
So it's not about good or bad or whatever. It's just not my cup of tea.
And then The Mask came out this year too.
Which
you said that's not
is
your thing either.
Even worse.
Wow.
Actually, I would say the third one that you're going to say is my favorite, then Pet Detective, then The Mask.
Wow, okay.
If I was going to have to watch them, and that's what I would do.
And then Dumb and Dumber.
I can deal with Dumb and Dumber because of Jeff Daniels.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lloyd. You can't triple stamp a double stamp. Lloyd, you guys.
Jeff Daniels carries it for me.
Do you just have something against Jim Carrey, period? Have you never enjoyed a Jim Carrey movie?
The mugging.
Okay. Your number is still 911? Alrighty then.
Just was not my brand of humor, and it never really has been.
All right, well, agree to disagree. I saw all three of them in the theaters this year. I definitely remember, Dumb and Dumber became me and my dad's favorite comedy at the time. And, The Mask was family friendly. And then Ace Ventura, even though it has a few mature little things in there, it's still a pretty family friendly movie.
Yeah, it's dirty.
Holy Testicle Tuesday.
Listen, pet.
It's probably the dirtiest of those three.
You think so?
Really?
I don't know.
What you think?
I don't know.
Which one do you think is dirtier?
Dumb and Dumber's got, it's literally got a scene with a dude. His brains out in a toilet.
Okay.
Talk about some toilet humor, right?
Point taken.
I'm not the one that hates these movies. I shouldn't have to defend myself. I like all of them. I still, to this day, think all of these are great, fun films. The Mask has definitely aged a little bit, but there is something to be said about how fun that one is.
Let's say the Farrelly brothers who did Dumb and Dumber. Mm-hmm. I was cool with There's Something About Mary.
I was on the other side of that one. I remember when that came out. I didn't think that was as funny.
And actually, I would say before that is Kingpin.
Hi. Not you. Hi.
That they did after Dumb and Dumber.
That one I thoroughly enjoyed, and now that's a raunchy film.
Stop it, you. It wasn't that bad.
And that one's dumb.
Yeah.
So,
It's all over the place with you, huh?
It just depends.
Okay.
It just depends.
No, right on.
What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap?
It's about flavor. And mood.
You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
So, anyway, Jim Carrey's big year, so I guess we're on opposite sides on that one. You're not as big of a fan.
And that's okay, but I absolutely concede the, war to you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we might be on opposing sides, but I'm not defending territory that's lost. That ship sailed. That dude won in the 90s, especially that year. So I was the lone voice going, I don't think this is that funny. Everyone, shut up! Okay.
Oh, man, that's a shame. I had a good time with all those.
Everyone loves those movies.
It was February, and then it was June or July, and then December.
Oh my God, yeah, that's 3 in 1 year.
Yeah, 3 in 1 year.
Whatever, Sam Jackson's hold my beer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Yeah, right. I know that guy is doing nonstop work.
He's 3 in 1 year, Jim.
So what's the first one when 94 started, man? What was the first thing that you were like, I cannot wait to talk about this one?
I don't have one of those.
I figured Pulp Fiction was going to be at the top of your list, man.
Tell that be cool.
It would be up there, but...
Be cool. Be cool, honey. Be cool. Tell that to chill.
That's so obvious.
Oh, it's okay to talk about some of the obvious things, right?
You know what one of my favorite movies
Which one?
are from that year?
Do it.
I'm going to start with one then.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
That's what I'm asking of you.
You are a fan of Glory, right?
Glory. Yeah, the old one. Yeah. Not the old one.
So that was directed by Edward Zwick.
Okay.
Who directed a movie that came out in 1994, and that's Legends of the Fall.
Hell yeah.
With Anthony Hopkins.
Yes.
And Brad Pitt and Aidan Quinn and Henry Thomas and Julia Ormond. And I know you're a period piece fan.
And I enjoy this movie thoroughly, and I was very excited to talk about that. This was not one of those movies that I found later in life. I was watching that thing
at the time.
And it's
Me too.
What is it? A 3-hour movie? It's just shy of that.
It's 2.5.
Movies weren't that long at the time. Now that's kind of the norm.
Yeah, it felt like 3. Now we're used to it. At that time, we we're like, it takes forever.
Yeah, but that one I really enjoyed, and I've watched that one numerous times.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so glad it's on your list. So what's your attachment to this one?
I liked the 3 different perspectives of the brothers. And I thought that was so interesting.
Wow, okay.
I liked the period.
Yeah.
I liked the environment, the geography in which it takes place.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy, which we know I like.
Yeah.
And it was so well done. And even though there was relationships and romance. You know, it didn't feel like
that was the core subject.
A romantic movie at all. It's like, no, man, this is just life.
But it's based on a book. And when it comes to taking books to movies, now, of course, I'm sure there's fans of the book that are like, the film didn't do it justice. But when you're watching it, it's like, I think that it really encapsulated a lot.
It covered a lot of territory.
Narrative for a 2.5 movie or whatever.
Yeah.
This was one of the few movies that I remember watching and was captivated by the cinematography. Like, for the first time ever watching a film, I was like,
this is really beautiful.
It looked amazing because, I mean, they're filming in Montana, or they filmed in Canada, but it's supposed to be in Montana, and it's just breathtaking. Wilderness and stuff, but even ones where they're just like having discussions in their family living room and stuff like that, I was like, it's lit really well, and these characters look so good, and
all the textures are really rich. And everything's wood and leather,
and this is the movie where Brad Pitt goes all psycho.
Samuel! Samuel!
Yeah.
When they go to World War I,
starts eating hearts,
and I'm like, where does this come from?
He goes hardcore.
Yeah. I'm like, it's such a good movie.
And that director, he made another movie with Tom Cruise later on that I think is absolutely superb as well, and that's The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
Oh, he made that too? I've seen that. It's been a long time since I've seen that film.
That is a well-crafted movie, kind of like Legends of the Fall,
if you will.
It's solid across the board. It's long too, but if you get into it, like, it's really, really well done.
Well, that's awesome, man. Legends of the Fall was totally on my list as well, and I highly recommend that film. If you guys haven't seen that one,
I know you like to talk about your theater experiences, and you saw the 3 Jim Carrey movies, but outside of that, do you have a big theater experience that you want to talk about?
Absolutely, man. This was the year Speed came out.
I'm a cop!
But I saw Speed in the theater.
What? I'm a cop!
That's wild.
LAPD!
That you got to see that in the theater, because I was
There's a bomb on your bus!
13 this year, and I was not allowed to see Speed in the theater.
What?
I saw it as soon as I could, though.
Yeah, my dad, I don't remember what was going on. I think it was just like a regular afternoon. And I think my dad was just like, hey, do you want to go see this flick? And really, at the end of the day, it was rated R probably just for the language in it.
Me.
Oh, darn.
That was really it. It's not necessarily
some sexual innuendo.
We'll have to base it on sex then.
Whatever you say, man.
They didn't even have that compared to like what other rated R movies were.
Well, it's really what they're thinking about is like thematic elements of
like it just
death and fear and terror.
Jeff Daniels was in this one. So even Jeff Daniels had himself a pretty awesome year.
That was one of those that I bought on Letterbox VHS before DVD so that I could actually get it
full frame,
widescreen.
I remember that VHS one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we owned the same one.
I know it pretty well.
I know that some people still like the sequel. I never really enjoyed the sequel, but
who?
I don't know. They're out there. They'll tell us in the comments.
Someone with a Jason Patrick t-shirt. They're like, Speed 2 Cruise Control. Yeah.
Now, I didn't know. Now, Jean de Bont, that was the director.
Jan de Bont,
excuse me. I knew that he was the director. I didn't know that this was his debut. And that was pretty amazing.
Because he was the cinematographer beforehand.
Yeah. What was he doing before that?
He shot Basic Instinct for Paul Verhoeven. I know he did that.
Oh, okay. Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then he moved on to Speed, which was amazing.
And then Twister.
Oh, he did Twister as well. The sequel's coming out for that this summer. But yeah, anyway, so $350 million worldwide that one made on a $30 million budget.
Wow.
It's not too shabby, right?
Yeah.
Before we move on, I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor, guys. We are sponsored this season from an e-commerce store. They make amazing t-shirts for cosplayers just like you. So go to cosplaycuriosities.com. They're an amazing store, like I was just saying, and they're offering up some unique apparel. We've even got our own shirts up there right now. So if you go to their site and search for Back to the Podcast, it will pull up the new shirts that we have just designed. So you can actually start supporting the show. Words. Support these words, because without your support, I can't talk. And of course, use the code BTTP, all caps BTTP, for 20% off your order. And now we can get back to it. Justin, what's next on 1994, man?
Okay, so one that I really, really like is Luc Besson's Leon, the Professional.
Hey, nicely done.
Gary Oldman.
Wasn't that Natalie Portman's like debut?
One shot, not bad, huh?
Her first role.
Can we try with real bullets now?
Quite the role.
It's like a French movie set in New York City. It's a little bit off, even though it feels like it should be American. It's not, and it's not really done in an American style.
I believe it. Yeah.
Luc Besson brought, a slightly different, to be honest, like a European point of view to shooting something in a big American city like that. And
Gotta add that to my list of shame right there.
Oh.
I've seen so many pieces of it. It feels like I know that movie, but I've definitely never sat and watched it from beginning to end.
Oh yeah, check that one out.
I like Jean Reno. I like Natalie Portman. I like Luc Besson. I think I would like it.
Yeah, it's of its time, of course, but
I believe that.
I think you'll dig it. But Gary Oldman plays like
I like these calm little moments before the storm.
an unhinged
You can hear the insects.
narcotics officer. He's so overacting. It's like Alan Rickman in
No more merciful beheadings. And call off Christmas.
Thank you. This will be a healthy reminder to me that subtlety isn't everything.
It's like, let's crank this thing up to 11 and just let him bounce off the walls. It's hilarious.
And never bring it down either.
Or even Gary Oldman again in The Fifth Element with Luc Besson.
Not one or two or three, but four.
Gary Oldman in Fifth Element is one of my favorites.
4 stars.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
What the hell am I supposed to do with an empty case?
Oh, man. But you want to talk about some over-the-top acting. That brings me to Natural Born Killers then.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to talk about Oliver Stone.
I had to.
So I actually have a coffee table book that I just finished slowly picking at, and that's called The Oliver Stone Experience.
Okay.
And it's just a big coffee table book about his,
Well.
body of work. And of course, it's a weird fucking movie.
I like it, though.
Do you?
It's very of its time.
It is.
Do you not like it? How do you feel about it? Because I know that Quentin Tarantino wrote this, and then they butchered it, if you will.
Yeah, Oliver Stone totally just took his own thing and went with it.
Because I like it, so.
There have been times that I've watched it that I really liked. Maybe I got and liked the dark comedy aspects of it.
Okay.
Because really it's a satire, right?
It is. And I guess maybe that's the lens I saw it through the first time.
And I can and have watched it through that lens. I just got to be in the right mood, because if I'm not, the gimmicky stuff can get a little tiresome at times. But
what do you think? What's gimmicky in that one for you?
just in every scene, it's just done a little weird.
Okay.
The whole movie's just he wanted it to be weird.
I don't know. I latched onto it hardcore. I did not see this movie, guys. My parents didn't let me go see this one in the theater. This one I saw a little bit further down the road, but I must have been at the right.
Well, it was Notorious.
It was a very violent movie. That is not the type of thing that my parents just let me go see when I was 11. But anyway, yeah, I had to bring it up because when I did see it, I was captivated by it. It's ultra surreal.
It's very surreal.
It's ultra violent. It's very rapid edits and stuff like that. It's kind of manic.
Stream of consciousness at times.
Okay, I could see that, yeah.
I don't know what's going on, Oliver. You've lost your mind.
I don't know, man. There's something about this movie that I really enjoy. I still haven't introduced the wife to that one. That's going to be an experiment. I should record her reactions to watching that thing.
It's an experience.
I'm sorry, Quentin, that you don't like that one. I'm sorry, buddy.
I'm going to bring up one I don't know if you've seen, but it was always a gem for me of this year, and that's Airheads.
Nice.
Okay, kiddies, listen up.
I think I watched it because
That's right, special unscheduled announcement.
I liked Brendan Fraser.
Now, part of our final hurrah, we have a special segment called Getting to Know Your Armed Assailant.
Because I liked Encino Man.
Yes, so much.
So that's why I went and saw it.
Chaz, you say all you want to do is be heard. Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
And that was my introduction probably to Adam Sandler and Steve Buscemi.
What do you want him to make a speech? What does he look like, Sting?
Probably in a lot of ways.
I can agree with that for sure.
Sold out the forum.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the earlier movies.
You're standing in front of 20,000 screaming fans.
And I like that movie because...
What are you going to say to them?
I like loud music.
Rock and roll!
And there's a lot of that kind of rock and roll spirit in that movie.
It's got a lot of good rock and roll spirit.
That I like so much.
There's a saying, Milo, if it's too loud, you're too old.
Huge, amazing cast as well.
I like Airheads.
Right on, man. Now, Airheads I missed in the theater, but I did obviously the second that one hit VHS or DVD or whatever it was at that time. I think it was VHS.
Yeah, I had it on VHS as well.
Oh, man. Yeah, Airheads.
What's next on your list?
Well, I mean, I figured I'd just talk about this big one right here, this Lion King movie that came out that year.
Oh, yeah, The Lion King.
We were all still pretty hopped up off of Aladdin and The Beauty and the Beast. They were kind of knocking them out of the park at this time. When the trailer dropped, it's one of the few times where they actually didn't edit a trailer. All they did was show you the intro that led up to Simba being held up, and then it just went boom.
That was smart.
Lion King. And you were like,
I'm going to go see that.
What was that? It was a mega blockbuster film.
It was.
When I went to go see it, we went and saw it with extended family. And my littlest cousin, I think was 2 at the time. He could just barely speak ever so slightly. If you remember, the movie starts with the song and then bam, credits roll up, right? And then when the movie ends, it does the same thing. So he fell asleep at the first bam with the credit thing, slept through the entire film, woke up to the next one, and was like, okay, movie start. And we were like, no, man, you just missed the entire thing.
The movie's over.
It was hard leaving the theater because he didn't watch any movie.
Poor little guy.
Was not happy about it. So, but The Lion King, man, it's generational. People have been loving that movie forever. This is not some hidden gem, but I had to bring it up because, man, it was such a good movie, right? You saw Lion King in the theater, right?
Absolutely.
Good.
And it was so good that I didn't see another Disney movie in the theater for a long, long time.
Yeah.
When the other stuff started coming out, like Hercules and stuff, I'm like, this is not going to be as good. I think The Lion King is the tent pole of Disney in a lot of ways when it really hit the high water mark. You know, it was one of those like, that's enough, I'm done, I don't need this. And it wasn't until like years later, I just wasn't interested in what was coming out.
Don't worry about it. You didn't miss much because this was the downfall.
Like it all just went down after that.
What is it? The highest grossing hand-drawn animated feature of all time is The Lion King.
It moved me.
There you go. So I don't know if you got anything cutesy or fun like that.
So the other one that I love that I'm pretty sure you look at it and you're like, oh my God, why are we friends? And that is Tim Burton's Edwood with Johnny Depp.
I know you're very busy, but can I have your autograph?
I like that movie, actually.
You do? Oh, okay. I'm surprised you...
You were great as Karloff's sidekick.
I skipped over it because I've only seen it one time.
Oh, okay.
Karloff?
So I didn't have much to say about it.
You! Karloff does not deserve to smell my
But I remember finally sitting down one day to give it a chance.
That limey sucker can rot in hell for all I care.
And I was like, I've seen the trailers. I like Johnny Depp. Bill Murray's in it.
What happened?
How dare that bring up Karloff?
It's about making movies.
And it's about making movies. And I sat down and watched it and I was like...
Bella, I agree 100%.
I get it.
Now, Dracula, that's a role that requires talent.
Of course.
It's super dry.
It's quirky, right?
You seem a little agitated. You want to go outside and get some air?
It's the Tim Burton style.
I'm ready now. Roll the camera.
Black and white.
Tim Burton doing a biopic.
Nothing blows up.
Action.
I think there's a lot of good jokes in it, though.
There's a lot of heart, and...
I think Johnny Depp is really good in it, too.
If you don't know, this guy, Edwood, is largely considered to be the worst director in American film history.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Essentially.
He makes schlock movies, yeah.
Like they're schlock.
Like he almost defined the genre.
And then there's
50 feet of crap.
And then there's Edwood. He tried. And that's a movie about someone who tries and kept trying even when everyone told him he shouldn't be doing what he was doing. And I like that. So
I'm glad you brought it up because, like I said, I skipped that one.
It's a quirky little movie.
Not because I thought you were going to bring that up. I was kind of glad you did.
Oh, good.
But just because there were so many other things to talk about.
Sure, there's a ton.
I only saw it the one time, but I remember having a good time when I watched it.
I can relate to Edwood a bit.
That's funny, man.
It's one of my favorite movies about making movies.
Definitely a hidden gem.
Is there any little hidden gems like that in 1994 you want to talk about?
For sure. I mean, I'm definitely going to bring up something, I don't know. It feels like it could be almost in the same wheelhouse with Edwood, but that's Hudsucker Proxy.
Coen Brothers.
Yeah, man.
They wrote it with Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi definitely has his touch on it. It actually feels a lot like a Sam Raimi movie.
They used to be roommates, Joel Coen and Sam Raimi, and I think Joel and Ethan helped edit Evil Dead, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's the story. Yep.
Yeah.
This little movie, I think, was one of those things where a friend handed it to me and was like, hey, if you've never seen this, you'd really enjoy this.
It's so weird.
And I think this is one of those movies that the second, I think there's like 5 minutes in, you're immediately in love with this film.
Or you're not.
Or you're not.
Yeah.
That's the best part about it. But I just loved when he always pulled out that piece of paper and showed people that circle. You know.
For kids. For kids. You know, for kids.
For kids.
You know. For kids. You know, for kids.
For kids.
It made no sense whatsoever. Paul Newman's in it as well. Sure.
Sure. He was a swell fellow.
Yeah. I just love his character in that one.
It's really well constructed.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how to describe this one.
It's a Coen Brothers movie, so it's weird.
Exactly.
But also, it's kind of cartoonish in the way that it's
cartoonish
put together.
Well said. Yes, with Raimi-esque qualities. Like this doesn't have Coen Brothers written all over it either.
Raimi's got his touch in it, yeah.
I like the long shadows, the style that they decided to go with. I can see a lot of what was in there going into The Man Who Wasn't There that they did later.
I mean, Raimi would have done Darkman. Did Darkman come out this year, I think?
Yeah, I believe that was this year. But
I think they wrote those together. He went off and did Darkman, and the Coens
and they did this.
Went off and did Hudsucker.
But this movie, guys, if you haven't seen the Hudsucker Proxy, here's one that I feel I can call a hidden gem, because whenever I bring this up in circles and stuff like that, people are like, wait, what are you talking about?
I'm surprised you like it.
I love this movie. It is
okay.
It's a treasure of a film, man. I mean, it's
kind of quirky too in that Joe versus the volcano sort of way.
We like the same stuff. You didn't even think I was gonna like Edwood.
No, I didn't at all.
Okay,
I'll kind of piggyback off that one. Mm-hmm. Danny Boyle's first feature film with Ewan McGregor called Shallow Grave.
Okay, I think you've mentioned this once before.
I really like Shallow Grave. So they're 3 flatmates and they think they need a 4th because they've got a big flat and they've got an extra room. They have a guy commit. He comes in, and then after a couple of days, he doesn't come out of his room and he's dead, and they find money. And then it turns into, well, what do we do with the money? Well, let's keep it. And then they start turning on each other.
Ooh.
And it's mostly takes place in this one kind of flat,
mm-hmm.
along with like the attic. And it's my kind of movie in that way, is one location, 3 people who all turn on each other. And I love that. That's my kind of movie. And if you're going to make like a first feature, that's the kind of thing that you should be aiming for.
Right. You shouldn't be trying to make a World War II saga or some kind of like science fiction movie.
And it's stylish and it's a little bit different. Ewan McGregor's great. Anyway, Shallow Grave, I would be remiss if I did not bring up Danny Boyle's first movie because it came out in 94.
Well, I'm going to swing for the fences, go for something bigger.
Ooh.
Go for something way bigger
Yeah.
that came out this year, and that's Forrest Gump. This one was a huge movie for me in my household. My dad saw it in the theater and came back and was like, you guys have got to see this movie. So I fortunately didn't get to see it in the theater. I got to see it on VHS when it came out, but I thought Robert Zemeckis, once again, I think he's one of my favorite directors. He's got so many amazing movies under his belt, but I think he pushed the envelope with graphics. I mean, once again, giving Lieutenant Dan no legs and all the other things they were doing. I know some people think this is a little candy-coated about American history.
I bet you hate movies that are universally loved.
But I think that it puts a fun twist, you know, putting it through the eyes of this one simple man.
You like Forrest Gump?
No.
You know, seeing
It's a horrendous piece of shit.
all this hatred and
Life is like a box of chocolates, no?
bigotry, and
I'm familiar with it.
he doesn't see life through that lens, and I just really enjoy that film
You never know what you're gonna get.
a lot. I don't know if Forrest Gump's your cup of tea, but damn, is that one great movie.
I don't know how I feel about that one now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I need to rewatch
You
it.
probably should. I think it's still a powerful film. That doesn't spur anything for you at all, huh?
One that does, that I know that you aren't necessarily a huge fan of because of the ending, and that's Shawshank Redemption.
I'm glad you brought it up.
So I would choose Shawshank over Forrest Gump, and I know you wouldn't because you don't like the ending.
Yeah.
Especially. I'm sure you have other issues.
No, that's pretty much it.
You're like, no, it's just the ending.
I don't know. Maybe I see it differently, but it didn't feel like it was a movie that should have just ended on the happiest note ever.
No, it absolutely needed to.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
That movie is so well crafted.
Don't get me wrong, like the rest of the film is amazing. I thought the happy little twist at the end was just...
Yeah, you need that though. It's so it's so hard.
It's adapted from a book, so I wonder
Stephen King. It's a Stephen King short story.
When I was doing the research, I was like, oh, okay, so Frank Darabont bought the rights for that for $1.
Well, no one else wanted it.
From Stephen King.
Well, it's called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, I think is what the short story was called.
Because about the poster and stuff.
Yeah.
William Sadler, I think it's one of his better performances, honestly.
I love the library scene with William Sadler when he comes to the
Count of Monte Cristo.
That's Cristo, you dumb.
By Alexandre Dumas.
And Tim Robbins says, oh, you'll like that one. It's about a jailbreak. And he says,
we ought to file that on the educational too.
I shouldn't let that one little thing at the end bother me, and everybody can hate on me in the comments. I don't care.
Really interesting stuff.
I only got one more on the list, man.
What do you want to talk about?
The movie that kind of brought us together, actually. I know you know exactly what I'm going to talk about when I say that. Guys, when we first met.
Which we still haven't met.
We still haven't met. Yeah, this is the closest we've ever been. When we were first chatting and stuff like that, the thing that we were doing was sharing photos from movies that are very obscure. And could you guess the movie? And he put up Southland Tales, which he's talked about on the show, and I was able to guess that within a few seconds. I was actually pretty quick on that one. And then so I fired back with Radioland Murders, and you guessed that in a few seconds, and it pissed me off so much because I was like, no one saw this movie. How did this guy see this movie? But Radioland Murders, I saw it in the theater this year. It was an instant family favorite of ours. We fell in love with it. It reminds me of Clue. Guys, if you like Clue, hell, even kind of the energy from Glass Knives, if you just like a good murder mystery.
You mean Knives Out?
What did I just say?
You said Glass Knives, which is nice because they're both the correct word, just two different movies.
Nailed it.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
From now on, it's going to be called Glass Knives. Have you seen Glass Knives yet?
I can't believe I did that. But anyway, Radioland Murders has an amazing stellar cast. I'm going to read this off real quick here. Brian Benben is the main guy. Mary Stuart Masterson, Ned Beatty, Scott Michael Campbell, Michael Lerner, Michael McKeon, Jeffrey Tambor, Stephen Tobolowsky, Christopher Lloyd, and I know I'm not even doing that list justice either.
A bunch of old white men.
But it was basically this opening night of a radio thing that was going to compete with the big boys, and this was their first night out, and somebody's getting revenge on a bunch of people from an old thing. I won't give it away if you haven't seen it, and I know a lot of you haven't because this movie made no money at the theaters. $1.3 million against a $15 million budget.
$1.57.
But this one was produced by George Lucas and actually conceived by George Lucas back when he was making American Graffiti.
I could see how one could spring from the other, you know?
So how did you see this movie then? Because that's really the question I have.
On TV. I think it was a TBS thing.
Okay, so you just caught it one night, huh?
And I like Clue. And it's my brand of humor, which is cleverness.
I like it all.
It's cool.
As you can now tell from my spectrum, I can do the funny Jim Carrey thing and the very witty thing and the toilet humor thing. I like it all. But that's about it for me.
I got to talk about one more. And that's because it was Kevin Smith's first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Smith has gone on to make a lot of movies that, you know, we can discuss good, bad, or whatever, but they've meant a lot in my lifetime overall. And I remember the first time I saw Clerks.
Are either one of these any good?
I couldn't see it at the time, obviously.
Sir.
What?
But I was working at Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
Are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
And there was a girl I was dating at the time that I worked with, and we watched
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
it at my house, and my dad was in the other room or something.
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
But I just remember my dad coming in.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
And being like,
nope.
What are you watching?
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
And I thought that was hilarious.
You weren't paying any attention.
No, I wasn't.
And at that time, especially 94, like...
I don't think your manager would appreciate
I don't
it.
appreciate your ruse, ma'am.
Movies weren't really like that.
I beg your pardon?
So...
Your ruse, your cunning attempt to trick me.
To like my dad, who thinks that, you know...
I was only pointing out that you weren't paying any attention to what I was saying.
And I hope it feels good.
Braveheart is the right movie.
You hope what feels good?
I hope it feels so good to be right.
He was like, is this even a movie?
There's nothing more exhilarating than pointing out the shortcomings of others, is there?
This doesn't even count as a movie, which I thought was hilarious.
Well, this is the last time I rent here.
You'll be missed.
But that is one of the things that we loved so much about it.
Screw you!
It was like a punk rock movie.
Hey, you're not allowed to rent here anymore.
Yeah!
It was.
It was rebellious and lo-fi, and it was grungy and imperfect, and we loved that about it.
I was also introduced to that one much later. I think Chasing Amy had already come out, and someone was talking to me about these Kevin Smith movies.
Mallrats was the first one that I saw, and then I went back and saw Clerks.
I don't remember the order. I know that they were very close together because I was being introduced to it all, and then Dogma was coming out. What was that, 99?
It was 99.
I think Dogma was coming out right around the corner, so I saw like all of his stuff just before that.
You got caught up.
Yeah, so I was a little late to the thing, but we were very young, and you know, it was hard to know about independent movies from Kevin Smith like that.
Yeah.
You know, that were getting no publicity and stuff. There was no internet at the time, but yeah, that finally made its way into my world, and you know, I love Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah,
I feel good today, Silent Bob. We're gonna make some money.
Talked about him on the Dynamic Duos episode.
You know what the you looking at? I'll kick your
Those guys are all right.
Right on, man. Well, that was fun.
1994.
That's amazing. I mean, see, we knocked it out.
Yeah.
And there's still many more to talk about on the list that we couldn't get to today.
Sure.
And that's it.
Okay. And please leave comments below on what we missed and what you like and why.
Yeah, I mean, once again, thank you all so much for joining us. This has been a pleasure making this for the past year. We're starting to see a lot more interaction and comments and stuff. Things are really growing. We appreciate that. So take a moment, go ahead and hit that button if you're enjoying the content we're putting together. It really helps us out more than you know. And of course, go ahead and visit cosplaycuriosities.com. Don't forget to use the code BTTP for 20% off. Big thanks to our sponsor, once again, Cosplay Curiosities. Cosplay for clothes when you're not actually at cosplaying, so that way you can rep it. I saw them drop like 10 new shirts this past week too, guys. So go and check that one out. And of course, we have our own merch on there as well.
Awesome.
And that about sums it up. So we'll be back again here really soon. Thanks again for joining us on another amazing episode of Back to the Podcast. And until next time,
watch some movies.
Bye-bye.
Bye.